Before you make the attachments, make sure the texture of your pinch pot is exactly how you want it to be. You can begin making the attachments. I am going to make 3 legs for my pinch pot. It's going to be a pot that I'm going to add a cactus into it, so it'll be holding dirt and a cactus. So I wanted it to stand up off of the table a little bit. Adding feet is a great way to do that. So I want to try to make them all the same size and the same shape. I use the table to flatten the edges, and later on I will straighten it out even more once they're attached. I divided the clay into 3 equal size pieces, and I'm using the first one to make sure that they're the same size. So I'm constantly measuring and adjusting as needed. The reason why I'm using 3 feet instead of 4 is because it's just easier to balance and make it even. Sometimes when you have 4 feet, it's really hard to make each foot balance on the table, so you have to be really careful with that. Now I'm just going to start spacing it out so that I can make my cuts onto the feet so that they fit properly on the side of the pot. I'm using a knife, a butter knife, to cut the angles so that they're going to form to the shape of the pot, as so. And now I flipped it upside down so that I could space them out even and properly so that they are nice and well balanced. I want the angles of each of the squares to be even. I'm going to score and slip so that they are well blended, well attached. I also made a little mark on the pot where they are going to lie so that when I pick it up to score it, I know exactly where I'm going to put it. Make sure that the slip soaks into the scoring marks so that when you push and press it onto the pot, it is going to be really well blended and hold really firmly. I'm going to score and slip each of the pieces onto it and make adjustments as needed. Notice how firm the pot is, so it is at that leather hard stage. The feet are a little bit softer, so I want to be careful when flipping it over to make sure that it stands properly, but I also don't want the legs to get smushed. So I'm going to store it upside down, but constantly turn it back right side up, just in case that it's not even anymore. So I want to make sure it's nice and even. Now I'm going to trim the sides of the legs, and to do that I am constantly supporting the leg with my other hand and cutting with my right hand. And that is to make sure that the legs don't move while I'm cutting and trimming. This is just a step for aesthetic purposes. I wanted the legs to look a little bit more even and straight instead of having those rounded edges. So I'm going to keep doing that until I'm happy with that, and then store it upside down like this as it to allow the legs to get set so that they don't smush. One thing to make sure of is that if your pot is starting to get dry, make sure that you're keeping it wrapped up while you're making and forming all of your pieces. You don't want it to get dried out while it's just sitting out. Keep it wrapped up. It's time to carve my potter's mark. One tool that I would recommend that you find is a paper clip. I opened a paper clip and taped it to an old Sharpie, and that is going to help me carve my potter's mark. You could try using the pencil, but sometimes the pencil makes the lines a little too thick. And so if your design for your potter's mark is intricate at all, you want to make sure to make the lines very fine. Notice that I'm carving and recarving over the lines so that I can make sure that my potter's mark is really legible. You don't want to just make a line and leave it, because sometimes they get smoothed out, or they're just not clean enough so that I can't read them. You want to make it nice and legible and ensure that your potter's mark is nice and clear. The last step, I'm going to keep working on this and add some carvings and designs, so I want to maintain that leather hard stage. So I'm wrapping the plastic around the pot so that it's touching all of the surface, and then I'm going to wrap it in a second plastic bag. Remember that every time you open it up to work on it, it's going to get a little bit drier. So you may want to spray it with some water the next time you wrap it up, or dip your finger in the water just to apply a little bit of moisture before it's wrapped up for the time being. Add carvings and designs. Be creative and unique.